They tip off.
And tease it out a little more in legislation.
We can have public safety, health, and welfare committee this evening at 6:46 p.m. Present are all members of council, our council president, mayor, law director, human resources director, economic development director, and service director. On the agenda is 2 liquor permits, the first being liquor permit number 2976077. It's a liquor permit transfer from 31635 Winning Road Inc., doing business as Fuzzy's Tavern, to Fuzzy's 2.0 LLC, DBA Fuzzy's Tavern, first floor partial basement patio located at 31635 Winning Road. After review and seeing no issues from the police department, I would like to make a motion to not object to this liquor permit and ask for a second.
Second.
Seconded by Councilmember Madden. All in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Motion passes with a vote of 3-0 to not object. The next liquor permit is liquor permit transfer. It's liquor permit number 5339911 from Tricia L. Mills, doing business as Tricia's Little Beverage and Deli, to Lucky's Snack Shop LLC, located at 5600 Columbia Road. Again, the police department did a review and found no issues with this liquor permit transfer. Therefore, I'd like to make a motion to not object to this liquor permit and ask for a second.
Second.
Seconded by Councilman Lynn. All in favor say aye. To not object. Aye. Motion passes with a vote of 3-0 to not object, and the meeting is concluded at 6:48 p.m. Thank you.
Hey.
What exactly?
So at 6:50, we will begin the finance committee. Present are all of council, the mayor, the directors of law, finance, HR, economic development, service, and special assistant to the mayor. The item on the agenda for tonight is 2023-86 concerning a purchase of a crack sealer. Who would like to speak to this?
Mr. Chair.
Dr. Comfort.
Yes, this purchase is retroactively authorizing the service director to purchase this crack sealer, and it needs separate legislation because there's 2 issues wrong with this. One, it was over 50,000, so council should have authorized it to go on to be purchased on the state purchasing list program, which they did, but council should have been had done that through legislation authorizing it. Secondly, it was ordered before any like purchase order or what have you was in place. So it also needed the then and now that then retroactively authorizes me to pay the purchase. So there was a double whammy here. I know it was discussed in budget hearings, and I think there might have been a miscommunication when asked if this was approved by council. Well, it was in budget hearings, but not the in excess of 50,000. So this needs to get approved, and I'm asking to pass it on second reading.
Are there any questions regarding 2023-86 from committee? Mr. Lundberg.
The then and now was the one, it was on that list that we had talked about.
This wasn't on it because it happened in the second quarter.
Okay. So it was before we had the conversation and identifying the audit issue, but
It was,
after the
It
list
was,
of
but-
items.
yeah.
Thank you.
Any further questions from committee? Director Kopfer, have you taken whatever steps necessary to not repeat this mistake?
Well, Mr. Chair, I can't guarantee that because before any paperwork came to finance, it was already ordered, so I can't, other than making,
I'm not
the
implying
person-
to hold you responsible, Director, I'm just.
no,
asking
I
as a
know, but I
general
mean,
question.
the mistake has already happened by the time
Well, that was,
we become aware of it, and so that's why the training was to help people understand the process, and actually Service did ask the question, but when asked, well, did council approve it already? The answer was yes, but they meant in budget and determining whether it needed legislation was what was being asked of them, so, but regardless, it was still ordered before there was a purchase order.
Director Carney.
Mr. Chairman, if I may add, it's the service department's fault. We did it without the PO. We did it before the training took place, and it won't happen again. And the finance director, we have talked about this since then.
Understood, mistakes happen, just asking that we are following up on trying to avoid that in the future.
We definitely are, sir.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, Mr. Chair, and that's where the timing was important because it was post-audit findings that we saw and
Yep.
pre-training that was identified from identification.
Okay. Any further questions from council? Seeing none, I would move to favorably recommend this with suspension, and ask for a second. Seconded by Mr. Lundberg. All those in favor? Aye. It is recommended with suspension 3-0. We will conclude at 6:54 p.m.
I would like to begin the Intra-Governmental Relations Committee meeting at 6:55 p.m. Present are committee members Gilchrist, Keeman, and Scar, Council President Broussard, Councilman Glassburn, Madden, Limpert, and Williamson, and guests, the Mayor, Law Director, Finance Director, HR Director, Economic Director, Service Director, and Special Assistant to the Mayor. The item for this evening's meeting is to discuss the appointment of Mr. Kerry Peoples to the Planning and Design Commission. Thank you, Kerry, for offering your time and talent to North Olmsted. Your resume was quite impressive, and I noticed that some of your activities include being an experimental aircraft builder and private pilot, which are both very exciting activities. Can you discuss those a bit more? Like what led you into doing that and,
What led me into being a pilot?
or experimental aircraft builder? That's so cool.
A long story very short. My father worked at the Cleveland Press. I went to the air show with him in, might have been '69. I was 10 years old. And my godfather, who was a photographer for the paper also, we went down early in the morning. I think it was on a Friday morning before the show started. One of the Blue Angels pilots offered to take me for a ride.
Oh, wow.
And at 10 years old, I was excited and headed off towards the jet. And I got one hand on the first rung and the second hand on the second one, and he was boosting me up. And my father said, "I can't let you go. If something were to happen, your mother would kill me." So I got down. He picked a woman standing in line and took her for a ride, and I was hooked.
That's so awesome.
So from there on, I was just doing everything I could to fly. And then when I met my wife, she encouraged me to build the plane that we have today, and we've flown all over the country in it.
That is super cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. I remember making rubber airplane things with my grandpa and doing things like that, and there's pilots in my family, so I thought that was pretty cool. Let's see. Are there any other questions from committee? Yes?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Not a question, but a comment that I am on planning and I welcome your help. And your resume looks amazing, really. And Shirley Williams, I love that company. I used to work there a lot of years ago. Yeah, it's a great, great company.
Yeah, the company is very dedicated to the Cleveland area, and it was an honor to work for them.
Oh, and to their employees, 80% of promotions come from within. I love that company.
And their work ethic is very honesty, integrity. Even if you don't wear the shirt that says SW, you're still at that level.
It's because they cover the earth. But didn't everyone ask you what store you work at?
Which store?
Did everyone ask you that?
I worked at Warrensville. Yeah, they always say.
Yeah, but they always thought you worked at the paint store.
It's 73,000 employees.
Right, what store you work at. Yeah. Thank you so much for volunteering. I look forward to working with you.
Go ahead, Councilman Scarrow.
Thank you, Madam Chair. No questions, just a comment. Carrie, I've talked to you numerous times on other issues here, and I just want to welcome you to the planning and design. I think you're going to be an asset with Councilwoman Heeman, and just thanks for volunteering your time. Appreciate it. Thank you. Thank you.
Any questions from council? Okay. Seeing there is no additional questions or comments, I would like to recommend appointing Mr. Kerry Peoples to the Planning and Design Commission to fill the unexpired term starting January 1st, 2019 to December 31st, 2023, and ask for a second.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. The motion passes 3-0, and my meeting will conclude then at 7 o'clock.
All right, we will roll right into the Committee of the Whole meeting of August 8th, 2023, beginning at 7 o'clock p.m. Present are all members of council, the mayor, law director, finance director, HR director, economic director, service director, special assistant to the mayor, and guests. We're here to discuss Resolution 2023-78, which reads a resolution authorizing the administration to solicit statements of qualifications, SOQ, from qualified professionals to serve as the city's audio-visual consultant to design improvements to city council chambers and caucus facilities, and further authorizing the mayor, following approval of the Board of Control, to enter into a consulting agreement with the professional selected in the SOQ process. At the risk of being redundant, just a quick review, as most everyone in the room is aware, we've discussed this, a similar version of this in finance, and subsequently, it appears that the majority of council is on board with doing improvements to both caucus and chambers, which is why I brought the resolution forward. With that said, I was just informed earlier today by Director Koffer that there's approximately $136,000 in ARPA funds that could be used for this project. Previously, we appropriated $50,000 for this project when it was going to be just one room. And then that leaves another $86,000 in unappropriated ARPA funding that could be available. So with that said, with that review being said, I'll open it up to questions and comments. Councilwoman Heeman.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm actually in favor of doing both rooms, and hopefully we can get it done at 136. It might cost a little bit more. We may have to find that money somewhere. I think that it is just like some of our other very large projects. It's a one-time opportunity, and in particular for ARPA funds, they're not coming back. We're not getting any more money. Working at a Cleveland Public High School, I can tell you that not having those types of funds this year is a staggering difference, to what those things can do. So I really do think that since we have the opportunity, it's important to do that. We've tried to do this a little bit here and there. We've become successful with some, I'll call them somewhat, mid-scale, unprofessional, no tech support, no people to call for help. And that's worked out okay, but I think now we see the frustration for our clerk, that it's just not going to continue to work. So I am in favor of this completely. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilman Scarl.
Thank you.
And then Councilman Glassman.
Yeah, I also am in favor of both rooms. I know we've thrown this around numerous times in finance and outside of other committee things. But I think it's the best move to get some professional firms or individuals to tell us what is going to be the best, and maybe not so elaborate or whatever. I mean, there is top of the line, and then there's middle of the road, and then there's all kinds of variations. But I think it is important, like Councilwoman Heeman said, that the clerk, we need to be on one system where we can have better camera angles, better microphones, whatever it takes. And I'm in favor of the ARPA funds myself too. And if it's more, we might have to find more, but hopefully it'll be less than the $136,000. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilman Glassman.
Mr. President, it's highly unusual that members of this body introduce legislation on the exact same topic as pending legislation in a committee. Only in the most drastic of circumstances is that falling in line with decorum. I'm deeply disappointed that 5 members of this body chose to go around, myself and the finance vice chair, to introduce this legislation. As to the merits of the legislation itself, I still see nothing in this proposal that ensures the participation and buy-in of our clerk, who is the person that will have to operate and use this equipment primarily, and that buy-in, that support, that integration of our clerk has not been forthcoming in the previous steps of this. Furthermore, I just can't get behind putting an entire year's salary of a higher level employee to replace the equipment that's functionally a web camera. So I strongly object to the process, I strongly object to the legislation, I will not be supporting it.
Councilman Limper.
Yeah, I just have a couple comments on this. So one, I understand that we had initially allocated ARPA funding for this. This isn't a grant for audiovisual equipment. We're choosing a funding source of ARPA to do this. So I think that we shouldn't pigeonhole ourselves to the ARPA funds specifically for this. And the other thing I want to just raise is whatever we go with, we're gonna have an ongoing maintenance or upgrade cost that we're gonna have to consider that ARPA won't be available for. So I hope we consider that in the consulting work of what's the total cost of ownership of whatever system we get. I think that's why I was pushing originally to try to focus on one room that will be the most effective. But understand that and appreciate and respect the other council people's view that, you know, we should do everything at once. I'm just with Mr. Glassburn as far as we should budget appropriately and understand that whatever we spend from an ARPA perspective, we're gonna have to own this ongoing. And for previous items, the technology typically doesn't last more than a cycle or two of council committees, so or elections or election terms, etc. So that's all I had. I also know just from a historical standpoint, the clerk had typically done these in the past, and I didn't see that participation through the process as well. If it was happening, I just wasn't aware of it. So thanks.
Councilwoman Williamson.
Thank you. Mr. President. I'm in favor of this proposal simply because of doing one room versus both rooms. We're gonna have a cost savings, but then, you know, if we upgrade one room, by the time we get to the next room, the first room's gonna be obsolete. We're not gonna be able to connect the two rooms together, and then we're gonna be back in the same position trying to figure out how we get the funding to upgrade the other room to be able to, you know, work with the room we had upgraded, if that makes any sense. But I think that we really need to consider this with the amount of times that the video goes out, the issues with the microphones and everything else, and I think it's time that we upgraded. I don't remember the last time we upgraded the system. So I think this one has served its purpose and outlived its life, but we need to upgrade it. Thanks.
Just piggybacking on what you just said, so I've been in this room for over 14 years, and I don't believe there's been any kind of upgrade, with the exception of service calls and band-aids over those 14 years. So I would agree with what you just said. And I think you know, regarding the clerk's involvement, you know, she's certainly not an expert on the matter, nor is anybody at this table. And so I think she's had involvement to the extent of what she can. And certainly we've all witnessed frustration, especially in council chambers, where we can't get video feed going. And we're in the process, we're underserving the public when that happens, and it seems to be happening with greater frequency. So, hence, again, Councilman Glassburn, I apologize if this appeared to be an end around. It certainly wasn't intended to be that way. As a matter of fact, you know, when I brought this forward, I asked if you'd like me to put it back in finance for review. You indicated no problem in committee of the whole. That's why we're here today. So, Councilman Glassman.
Mr. Chair, what committee it's in is irrelevant at this point. If 5 members have chosen to exclude 2 and our clerk, that is the problem. introducing a second piece of legislation is a decorum problem. This legislation doesn't have any specified amount of money attached to it. It's a blank authorization for the administration to go forward.
Any other questions or comments? Councilwoman Heeman.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I think it's important, and I think that many at this table know, we had nothing before. We had nothing. The public was left out of everything. So that we have this little webcam is, thank you, Mr. Mastrollo, for helping us try to find that, to engage the public and bring them into our room and into our work, right? And it just really now, now they need to be fully engaged. And I think this is really the only way to do that. I think as Councilwoman Williams said, that you can't, if you try to do one room, well, then you can't later add another. Our clerk is suffering greatly through all of this, and in fact still is using her personal phone, even though when we last spoke about this, I believe when it was in finance, I was told that we would at least give her a city phone, so she no longer had to use her personal phone, which is absolutely wrong. So that didn't even happen. I believe that, Mr. President, if you'd like to maybe put forward some of the ideas that our clerk had for consideration to, the administration, so that they can understand what her desires and needs are, that would be helpful. And that, she would include it in the process, so that, she can kind of at least have a voice to say, well, I don't know, that might be difficult for me because, or at least offer an opinion. Thank you.
I think that was the intent, whether stated or not. Councilwoman Gilchrist.
I just want to, I think that it's important for the public to have transparency, to be able to see these meetings and view them, and without appropriate functioning equipment, that's not happening. And I think that the administration should look to be and ask what she needs as well. I agree with that, and I think it's silly to do one room and not the other. I think they both need to be done.
Any other comments, questions? All right, seeing no others, then, oh, by the way, I wanted to mention that, although this is not, this piece of legislation was not brought forth by the administration, they are in favor of it as well. And so I wanted that on the record. So I'll move to favorably recommend to all of council resolution 2023-78 and ask for a second. Seconded first by Councilwoman Williamson. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
No.
That will move forward by a vote of 5-2. And that'll complete our reading the whole meeting at 7:14.